My next patron question is from Trevon, who wants to know what approach I would take with a specific Disney remake. Out of all Disney's animated movies, I think Hercules is the one that would benefit the most from a live-action adaptation, especially if it would differentiate itself from the animated movie by sticking much more closely to Greek mythology. Knowing that Disney's developing a live-action Hercules adaptation, do you think it should be direct, like Beauty and the Beast and The Lion King, or more of its own thing, like Cinderella? So like the question mentioned, there is a live-action remake of Hercules in development at Disney. It's been a few years since the last official update, but it's currently known that Guy Ritchie is attached to direct, and Joe and Anthony Russo are producing the movie. Regarding the possible approach, the Russos have said the film won't be shot for shot, and instead try to incorporate new elements while also still keeping it in the style of the animated film. Whatever that means, who knows, as the style of the animated film went for a wacky comedy approach. It was also a commentary on how athletes are turned into celebrities with endorsement deals. Whether that, along with the Alan Menken, David Zippel songs, will be retained, we'll just have to wait and see. That is, if the project even comes to fruition, as Disney has new people in charge, and for all we know, they might decide to pass on producing a Hercules remake. Now, if I was a filmmaker and was asked by Disney to make a live-action Hercules movie, I would not go for the faithful remake approach. Admittedly, Hercules is not a movie I have a particular fondness for. I like the songs and think Hades is an entertaining villain, but I find the story is nothing more than a reskin of the Superman origin in Greek clothing, and I even find Herc himself to be a bit of an uninteresting lunkhead. So I would not be approaching a remake as a fan of the animated film. Of course, the trickiness of doing a faithful Hercules movie for families is that Greek mythology is not what I would call family-friendly. Ron Clements and John Musker had to clean up and change a lot of the original story to make it suitable enough for family audience. I would probably take a similar approach to what Kenneth Branagh did with Cinderella and Nicky Caro did with Mulan, essentially do my own thing and tell a version of the Hercules story that borrowed more from the Greek myths, although I would still include Menken's music in the score and in the end credits. It would be this big epic action adventure done the style of Ray Harryhausen with an emphasis on the 12 labors of Hercules. An interesting question would be who the villain could be. While Hades was depicted as an outright evil villain in the animated film, he was a more complex figure in the Greek myths. While he ruled the underworld and made it a point to keep the dead there, he was not an outright villain, although he could be ruthless at times. Instead, the closest thing to a villain in the Hercules story is Zeus's wife Hera, who is not Hercules' mother like she is in the animated film. The movie was reportedly not well received by the audience in Greece, who disliked the several alterations to their mythology, so maybe some Greek consultants could be included in the process to make something that respects such a core part of their history. However, it seems like what people want from these Disney remakes is not something that borrows more from the original stories or tries to do its own thing, but instead includes as many elements from the animated film as possible. I've already seen a bunch of people online say that Dan DeVito should play Phil again, and there will be a lot of upset viewers if Hades was not the villain, if Zeus and Hera are not depicted sympathetically, and if the Muses don't come out singing Zero to Hero and A Star is Born, or Hercules does not perform Go the Distance. I don't know why people want these remakes to be a copy when they can just watch the original animated films rather than waiting for someone to do it with live actors and computer-generated effects. That's the tricky dilemma Disney sometimes encounters with these remakes. If they do just a shot-for-shot version, it underwhelms people like me who want to see them do more to differentiate from the animated film. But if the remake changes a bunch of things, then they get other people upset for that reason. I know there will be the reply saying, well, don't produce a remake then. But money talks, and the public, more often than not, goes to see them. And while I do think the box office failure of Snow White will likely put a pause on the Walt-era films, Disney still seems intent on remaking recent animated films like Tangled and Moana, although they're definitely going to run out eventually. If Hercules does make it to production, we'll see what the filmmakers come up with, I guess. But I would rather something new than recycling what Clements and Musker already made before. Thank you for your question, Trevon.